asked to, I invited him to the meeting to do the words of encouragement yesterday, but again, he had a schedule conflict. But he also is looking for support counsel on an issue that he's working on, and Councilman Jumping Eagle could kind of reference that a little bit. But we're going to pass out a letter here seeking that support. But Mr. Mills, if you want to go ahead and do the words of encouragement, and then you'll have the floor right now. So can you hear us?
Hey, Billy, I think you're still on mute.
Okay, hello everybody. I'm excited. Excited twofold just to be talking to the to the Tribal Council, and of course to have an opportunity to spend some moments with President KILI. I've admired him. I've been one of his big fans for years. But I'm excited, and I would love to have, as soon as possible, everybody read the letter that Running Strong sent. I will not go over the letter. It describes basically from my heart to your heart what I'm hoping we can accomplish. But I would definitely like to have President KILI and the Oglala tribe, the council, the words of support for the new community center that we're building, a friend of all nations. I think it's going to have just an incredible impact on not just the local community, but on the entire reservation, simply because of where Kyle is located more centrally. But I want to take a few moments from a broader perspective to share with you how I see the value of the Friends of All Nations Community Center. On a global basis, as my wife and I have traveled 12 countries now, they have said they are either studying the Lakota people, they're studying the history of the Lakota nation. Others have said they're studying history of the indigenous people worldwide, starting with the tribes in the United States of America. So I'll share one quick story. In Cape Town, Africa, my wife and I were there, and Patricia's going to this salon for a pedicure, manicure, a massage, and this young lady was working on her who looked like she was Dene from the United States of America, Navajo. So Pat said, "Where are you from?" She said, "I'm Tibetan, born in northern India." "What are you doing in Cape Town?" "My father was making an arranged marriage for me to a man 50 years old. I'm 21. My brother pleaded for him to let me pursue my dreams. He said, 'No, I choose, you marry, you have the children, you're subservient.' My brother pleaded, 'Let me pursue my own dreams.' Then the brother showed the father, the rest of the family. She said, a movie. I'm a tribal person. Then she said to Pat, 'I'm boring you talking about tribalism.' Patricia says, Pat said, 'You're not boring me. My husband's tribal.' The young lady, Cape Town, Africa, from Tibetan, said, 'Your husband's from what tribe?' 'He's a member of the Oglala Lakota tribal nation. Their sovereign lands are surrounded by the state of South Dakota.' The young girl goes, 'Oh my God,' hits her forehead, a little jewel falls down, and she says, 'Your husband's Billy Mills.' My wife, somewhat shocked, said, 'How do you know about my husband?' My brother to show my father that I, as a tribal female, should have the right to pursue my dreams like your husband did." Then she went on to tell Pat, the father said she can pursue her dreams, hopefully to become a nurse, I believe. But the power of the story was, she said to my wife, "It's no longer about your husband or indigenous men. It's about indigenous women. My brother has taken my father, our family, around the world, continents of the world, telling stories about indigenous women who are achieving and making a difference. And then she said she's looking toward the women of the Lakota tribe, the Indian women in the United States of America, to see what the councils do to empower them, what the federal government does to empower them, because Indian women, starting with the Lakota, are our hope. The Indian women are our hope. Whatever happens to the Indian women is either our celebration or our demise. Every young female on our reservation needs to know how other nations are looking toward us, our young females, for hope, for direction. And I tie that into the Friend of All Nations Community Center. We have to start locally, having our young people realize their brilliance, and we have to empower their resilience. And other countries are looking for the brilliance and the resilience of our young people. And I see the Friend of All Nations Community Center as a vital factor in helping restore the resilience of our young people. One more quick story on a global basis. I've been speaking, I just spoke to 4,000 medical people 2 days ago, wanting to know why we as indigenous people are the way we are today in America, why we suffer with so many struggles. So what I shared with them, I'll share with you. I started with 1493, the doctrine of discovery. Our young people need to know this so we can rebuild their resilience and counter some of the pitfalls, drugs, etc. 1493, courtesy of the Vatican, the Pope wrote the doctrine of discovery. Any new lands found in reference to the New World can only belong to the first Christian monarch that discovers them and the inhabitants of those lands. Estimates of 60 to 100 million indigenous people must come under international rule of law. Their laws, their religion, their songs, their dance, the sacredness of their drum will no longer apply, and they must submit to Christianity. But then it was realized, if we did, the dark period of our history, we could own land. So that's when they said we had no souls. The violation of our Indian women was sport. Killing an Indian man was game. The westward movement began, legalizing land theft. 1823, the United States Supreme Court won a lawsuit based on the doctrine of discovery. Indian people cannot own land. That gave President Andrew Jackson the right to say we can sign treaties and break treaties. Every treaty signed, every treaty broken. Now the land had to be developed. Slavery. No words can describe the inhumane treatment of the innocent. When the slaves were freed, 4 million new citizens. And our leadership in Washington, D.C. went to the poor white, simply saying, don't let them take your jobs, referring to the former slave. They developed great skills as slaves. Jim Crow's born. 1 year before I won a gold medal at the Olympic Games, the Civil Rights Act was passed. Two things happened. They tried to transfer our treaty rights into the Civil Rights Act to water down the power of our sovereignty. At the same time, we've all seen the negative news of law enforcement, leaders of the various cities, hosing African Americans, men, women, children, the elderly, across the street with the power of a hose. I actually went to stand in the same spot, the 4 young women at Dr. Martin Luther King's church that were putting on their robe, celebrating their newfound freedom, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, when the bomb went off, killing them. I wanted to get a feeling of what their thoughts might have been and how they were expressing the joy before their lives were taken. The doctrine of discovery, manifest destiny, treaty signed, treaties broken, slavery, Jim Crow. To counteract Jim Crow and all of what I just previously said, the war on drugs began. Immediately, they wanted to make hippies and young black men felons. That's our government, United States government. They soon removed hippie and put in young men of color, all of our young tribal men. The war on drugs has been devastating. Patricia and I visited several reservations right before the pandemic, where 40% of our young girls, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, have to find a different place to sleep every night for fear of being violated by some person high on meth. That's the war on drugs that was planted to further create the genocide among our people. Those footprints, the doctrine of discovery, manifest destiny, treaty signed, treaties broken, slavery, Jim Crow, the war on drugs, they're etched into every fiber of our social way of life today, forever influencing our rule of law. They created three things: generational trauma. I've experienced generational trauma. Our reservation has experienced generational trauma, but it also created generational privilege. Generational privilege created systemic racism. Our young people, the United States of America needs our young Lakota men and women, our young children. They need their minds, they need their brilliance, their resilience to help choreograph the horizon of America's future. From a broad perspective, I see other countries studying what I just described. I see here in America, we're trying to let those past footprints be washed away by the passage of time, and we cannot let that happen. By the winds of change, the passage of time, washing those footprints away. I see, for example, the Friends of All Nations Community Center, giving life to our young people. We can use that to empower their brilliance and strengthen their resilience, because America needs our young people to choreograph the horizon of America's future. More than anything else, America needs its people of color. It needs all of our Lakota people, all of our tribal people. So with that said, I'm hoping you've had time to read the letter, and I passionately hope Running Strong, a program I co-founded 34 years ago, wanted to take the value, the virtue of the giveaway and make that my lifetime journey with my wife, Pat. And through Running Strong, we've been able to help empower many communities. Gene Kresek, my co-founder, I introduced him to Kip Kano in Africa. Bread and Water for Africa was created. We've empowered a number of tribes in Africa. We're trying to do the same here in the United States. And my focus is my tribe, just a humble member of the Oglala Lakota tribal nation. So I hope I can get the support of the president and of the tribal council on the new project that we're working on. And I say this in closing, utilizing what to me is my most powerful prayer. We are all related. And indigenous people throughout the world have taken the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota prayer, we're all related, and expanded it into their lives. And they're looking toward our young women for hope, for direction, for clarity of mind. So I see the Friend of All Nations Community Center playing a vital role in choreographing the horizon of America's future. I thank you for your time, and read the letter. I don't know if Hannah has any comments she wants to make, but I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Appreciate all your words and support. Councilman Duffy.
Thank you. Good morning, council and the listening audience. Thank you, Mr. Mills, for your presentation. Good words. You know, about a month ago, 3 weeks to a month ago, we were invited to the youth center out there in Kyle. Us three reps from Kyle, President Killer, Vice President Musso. We went out there to a presentation, and I've given some support to Oyate Techa in the past. They reached out, and I've supported them. And, you know, with this proposed new youth center, it's really going to benefit the community, you know, not only ours, but our surrounding communities as well. And, you know, when I was a kid in the early 90s, we had that youth center was there. And I, as a kid, utilized that youth center also. And it's good to see that it's expanding and there's big buildings coming for our youth. You know, our youth are going to have a place to go where they could feel safe, a place they could go, you know, to learn how to garden, you know, learn how to be self-sufficient. And I really am thankful for Miss Rose Frazier out there in Kyle, who's bringing her dream to a reality. So, President, I'd like to make a motion that we draft a letter of support for this construction on this building, you know, that's going to be there for years to come for our youth, and try to support them whichever way we can. So that's my motion.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Is there a second motion? Second. Thank you, Councilman. So there's a second by Councilman Ironclad. And Council, we do have a quorum, just for the record. We have stated members, and we could take attendance after this, so that was my mistake. Thank you, Secretary, for recognizing that. Is there any questions on this, Council? Seeing or hearing none, go ahead, Secretary, if you want. Oh, go ahead, Councilman Steele. Go ahead.
Did we do a roll call?
Well, technically, because we're in recess, you don't really have to do roll call, but we could, like, officially. We could do it after this, just to for record. But we do have a quorum, so I mean.
Well, I mean, for matter of record, we don't know if we have a quorum to approve anything.
Okay, so let's do the roll call first, and then we'll do the motion. Yeah.
They're doing their technical stuff.
Okay.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Vote.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse. Brian Jumping Eagle Sr.
Here.
Gerald Canoyer is excused. Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Present.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Here.
Ron DeBray.
Oh.
James Cross.
Here.
Ella Giancarlo.
Here.
George Dreamer Jr.
Here.
Jillian Spotted Bear.
Here.
Richard Ironcloud.
Here.
David Poyer.
Here.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston. Here. Jackie Sears.
Here.
Michael Carlo Sr.
Present.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr. Garfield Still. Craig Dillon.
Thank you, Council. So we have 20 members present. So this is a record, 20 members present in person or by Zoom. So thank you. So we'll go back to Councilman Jumping Eagle's motion to approve any further discussion of Councilman Watkins. Okay, good deal. Anything else on the motion to approve the Oyate Techa Youth Project? Seeing none, Secretary, if you want to run the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Vote.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey, James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Yes. Okay, council, that motion passes 24-0 against, unanimous. Thank you, council. Mr. Mills, do you have any, or go ahead, go ahead, Councilman Carlo. I can't, there's a, yeah.
Councilman Watkins was before me, and I'll go after him.
Yeah, Councilman Watkins, sorry about that. So Councilman Watkins and then Councilman Carlo.
Well, I need to make a motion to open the agenda. I gotta put an item on that, we need to discuss.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Councilman, did you want to, pertaining to the Oyate Techa?
Good morning, champ. This is Mike Carlos Sr. You know, in 1964, Joy, your victory echoed all across Indian country. You're an inspiration to our youth. Today, the tribe, I believe, supports you 100% in all your endeavors in running strong. My question is this. We have a building named after you in Pine Ridge, you know, after your victory. And recently, we've probably spent about over $400,000 trying to renovate that building. And yet today, we can't utilize that building because of the heating, the cooling, the bathrooms, the water, the sewer in there. What I'm asking you today, sir, is there any way that your organization can help us where we can go out and try to bring funds in to make that building the pride that it was in the construction back in the 60s, to be able to utilize by all of our community members. As you see today, large enough for our council meetings. We've been jumping all over across the reservation, trying to utilize different facilities for our meetings. And we always believe that our community members should be able to come to our meetings. So at my request, sir, would you be able to assist us in some way, shape, or form to help us renovate that facility?
Could you help in improving the Billy Mills Hall?
They're asking
Yeah.
for a response now.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to be involved in any way possible. It's been years, I think, since there's been any type of renovation, but that's a project we could talk with Running Strong, with the staff, with the board, and definitely you'd have my support in saying I want to do it.
I thank you, and I see, you know, the vote is here and supporting you 100% in all of your endeavors. And like when you were getting to the finish line and everyone was hollering, "Go, Billy, go," I echo that again, sir.
He's echoing, "Go, Billy, go," for improvement.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mills. I don't know if you have any closing comments or anything.
Closing comments.
My comments?
Closing comments.
Okay, the only closing comment I would have would be, I just hope we can count on your support. It speaks volumes, and as I speak for running strong across the United States of America and in some foreign countries. I speak in terms of unity, global unity, national, tribal unity, through the dignity, character, beauty of global, national, tribal unity, through the dignity, character, beauty of global unity, tribal unity. So I'm hoping we can move forward with the Friend of All Nations Community Center with the unity that I feel so strongly about, and also start a dialogue on what can happen, what we might be able to do at the Billy Mills Hall in the town of Pine Ridge. So I thank you for your time. Looking forward to your support, and it's always exciting when I can talk to the council and see relatives on there. It feels like I'm back home. So thank you, appreciate it. And President Keller, thank you very, very much.
Mr. Mills, appreciate all your support and just your words and your continued ambassadorship around the world for our Lakota Nation and just our values and everything you do to raise us up on a global level. So appreciate it. Woke you up. So council, I know that we have a motion on the floor. I'll go ahead, Councilman Watkins. If you want to, we could address that at that time.
I'd like to make a motion to open the agenda. Got some an item I need to bring on.
So there's a motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Carlo to reopen the agenda. And I believe this is a 2/3 vote that we need. So is there any discussion, council, on this? Hearing or seeing none online or in person. Secretary, if we could run the vote on to reopen the agenda. And again, this is a 2/3. And because we have 20 members present, 14 are needed to 2/3 it back on to reopen the agenda. So thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Boo.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
for a White Horse, for a White Horse, Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey, James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud,
Yes.
David Poyer, Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Michael Carlo Sr., Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes. That motion passes 19-4, one not voting. So, so the agenda is open right now. Go ahead, Councilman, Chairman Watkins, sorry. If you could present your item. Go ahead.
And I need to, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mike. He's going to explain it better.
And just to be clear, is this coming from Law and Order Committee? Is that correct?
What's that?
Is this coming from Law and Order Committee?
Yes, it's
Okay.
coming from the Law and Order.
Okay. I just want to clarify. Okay, Councilman Carlo.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Mr. Chairman, you know, our kids have suffered, you know, through this pandemic the most. And right now, you know, we have teams that will be representing our reservation in the tournaments down in Denver. And what my idea today was, if we could amend the shelter in place to allow our teams to practice. And Oglala, Lakota County Schools, you know, they're gonna open up their facility for the teams at different times of the day and week where they could practice. But, you know, we do have different teams in the outlying districts that have facilities too, where, you know, if we adjust the shelter in place to fit their needs, you know, for these kids to be able to practice and come together. I think it's highly important today that we discuss opening up or modifying the shelter in place for these kids and the teams that are going to participate down there.
Okay, thank you. So that would be a motion to amend the shelter in place ordinance for, is that sports? Is that what, Councilman Carlo? Would that be amending the shelter in place ordinance for sports programs?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, I think,
Okay.
Sonia had her hand up.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to council and to our executive board and the people, our Oyata out there in the listening, you know, whether it's on KOLC or through Zoom. Just want to say good morning. And, you know, the shelter in place ordinance, we've been talking about it, and I don't know if Mr. Gunn is on Zoom this morning, but he was to look at the shelter in place and amend a section in there in reference to what Mr. Watkins is talking about, because we do have things that are happening that requires, you know, I guess the
Councilwoman's down with your question, and we'll come to you, okay? And then, yeah, and the secretary's going to do your test.
Our service was cut off. Is somebody, one of the council people on Zoom, can you help us test our audio?
This is Jackie. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I can hear you as well.
Okay, so we're back. Councilwoman, Mr. Gunn, there is a question for you. Councilwoman, can you state that one more time? Sorry.
Good morning, Steve. This is Sonia. I think a while back in our Law and Order Committee meeting, we've asked you to review the shelter in place ordinance. I think you were going to look at the new CDC guidelines in reference to discussions we had. Do you remember? Or did you ever get to that?
Steve's not on for some reason, but Lisa, did you get that question? Lisa? No. Lisa, are you there? Lisa, okay, she's not answering. Councilwoman, maybe we could refer that to the vice chair. Go ahead, maybe we could refer that question to the vice chair.
Okay, I guess my question, Vice President Musso, was we had asked, I don't remember, it was last month in our Law and Order Committee meeting, we've asked our attorney, Steve Gunn, to review the new CDC guidelines. I think at the time we were discussing amending the shelter-in-place ordinance, just a section in there, because in the shelter-in-place ordinance today, it states if you leave the reservation over 24 hours, that you have to self-quarantine for 14 days. So that was a big concern, I think, and I think he said he was going to review the new CDC guidelines and come back with some language in that ordinance, maybe to amend that. And so today we're talking about, Mr. Carlos talking about the teams that want to go to Denver. So I think we should I don't know if you heard anything from him, but that was my question to Mr. Gunn.
Sure. Yeah, I remember that. And I think the quarantine was because of vaccinations, because now if you're vaccinated, you're no longer needed to quarantine. But we do know there's no vaccine for youth. So that's the other piece to consider and take into consideration is the youth aren't going to be vaccinated. And, when I think the other guidance and information we've got is if kids go to school and they stay within their school and they go home, and it's lower risk, but when they start to go and interact with other schools or even leave, they're going to Denver, right? So once they leave, that is a higher risk. And once again, they don't have a vaccination for youth. So that's another consideration. And we provide the recommendations and considerations. You guys make the law. So I just wanted to put that out there that youth aren't vaccinated. If they stay within their school, that's the lowest risk. Once they start to intermingle with other schools and also leave and go into the surrounding areas, because we also know the surrounding areas don't have as strict preventive measures as we do, that there's higher risk outside of our borders. So just, those are some things to think about.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And I know to add to the Vice Chair's comments, I read this morning, I think it was Pfizer. The Pfizer shots actually was approved as 100% effective for ages 12 to 15. Is that correct? Yeah. So there's that. So that might be an emphasis council to order more of those Pfizer shots. So, but I also got, so I got Councilman Puyer and then Councilwoman Sears and Councilman Carlo. So go ahead, Councilman.
Chair, mine's on another subject rather than this what's being presented here.
Okay, so we could thank you, Councilman. So we'll come back to you, just raise your hand. Councilwoman Sears, go ahead.
Yes, I'm glad that Alicia did clarify that because we did discuss these issues in education on Monday. So, we have to look at that shelter in place and see what we're going to do with it. If we're not going to follow the indicators from the task force, because they are keeping an eye and they are following the CDC guidelines when they do recommend when we can do things. Right now we're in a stage, I think they talked about, if we can hold on for a few more weeks on the reservation, but this is just on the reservation, so we don't know, just like Ms. Musso said, when we're mingling outside of our boundaries here, went into a city where other variants are high, our children will be more at high risk at this time. So, at this time, I think that we need to just play it safe, and I guess it is up to council, whatever they decide. So that's all I wanted to say was we got to listen to the science here today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman. So Councilman Carlo, then Councilman Yellowboy.
I appreciate the comments made, but the most important one was made by our Vice President. We make the laws. So I think it is up to us to really decide if we're going to do this for our youth. The kids that played basketball this year, they were the only ones that played the entire game wearing masks. They understand the rules, the procedures that need to be taken. So I'm sure all the teams are going to exercise as much precaution in what they're doing with this practicing. And Colorado, I believe, has a mask mandate. So I do believe precautions are there, and I will support amending this shelter in place so that our youth are able to go practice and to go to Denver. That's only my comment, but I thank you.
Okay, Councilman Steele, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, can we, if this is gonna be a topic of discussion, can we 2/3 it on and talk about it when it gets here? Because there's 3 other, I know I got 2 and Ryan has one that we want to 2/3 on, and then when those issues come up, we can address them as may. Because if that's the case, we're gonna sit here and wait for Mr. Gunn to give us an answer on the 2/3 or the amended shelter in place ordinance, and we could still, begin other stuff done if we just 2/3 them on and discuss it when it comes here.
Yeah, no, Mr. Gunn just got the phone with the secretary, and so he could get on about an hour or hour and a half. So we could, is there any more? I think we're almost done on debate anyway with this issue. Is there anything else, council, on this to 2/3 this on to the agenda? Seeing or hearing none online or in person, secretary, and this is, remember again, council, this is required a 2/3 vote to get it on the agenda. So requires 14 votes. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr.,
Oh.
Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Michael Carlo Sr., Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Thank you, council. That motion passes unanimously, 24-0 against. So thank you, council. Councilman or Chairman Jumping Eagle, your item.
So Chair, before I 2/3 this item on, there's some text coming in asking what you decided on the admin leave. I know today's the last day of March. So
Yeah, so we're going to do 14 days admin leave because that's we're going to roll it out gradually. So that, and then hopefully all the programs will be ready in 14 days. So that, but again, as was alluded to the previous conversation, there's variance out there, and trying to make sure that our schools are going to see how that's going to impact our programs, because it's going to, it's a reciprocal relationship, and like, so if our God forbid, like our young people, are okay and stuff like that, it doesn't take off, then, hopefully that we can get our programs vaccinated, all this kind of stuff. But, pointing to one of our sister tribes, the Sisseton, when they went back to school, they actually had an outbreak. So, there's also to consider that. So I'm probably going to do 14 days. So that's what we'll do. And then I'll visit with the vice president on making sure that we're up to scale and all this kind of stuff in 14 days.
Okay, thank you. So the item I have is, it's the resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to allow Oglala Sioux Lakota Housing, OSLH, tribally controlled schools and other governmental housing providers to carry out eviction proceedings in rental and home ownership units based on drug activity and or violent criminal activity during the COVID-19 pandemic moratorium on evictions based on non-payment of rent. Motion a 2/3 on to the agenda.
Okay, motion, second by Councilman Watkins. I know that Councilman Puyer had his hand up. So that was motion was seconded by Councilman Watkins. Councilman Puyer, go ahead at this time. You got some, okay, no worries. Any discussion to motion to 2/3 that onto the agenda right now, council? Seeing or hearing none online or in person, Secretary, if you could run the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse, Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud,
Yes.
David Puyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Council, that motion passes 24-0 against. Thank you, Chairman Jumping Eagle. Chairman Steele, your items are.
Okay, I have a resolution of Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe authorizing and approving the preparation of a feasibility study to support the establishment and funding of tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneer Junior Reservation. Motion to 2/3 that on.
Okay, motion to 2/3 that on. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Youngman and Councilman Ironclad. Discussion on that item right now, council, to 2/3 it on. Hearing or seeing none online or in person, Secretary, if you could run that vote.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse, yes, Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes. Yes.
Ella Giancarlo, George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud,
Yes.
David Puyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Council, that passes 24-0 against. Thank you, Chairman. Your next item.
Yeah, I have entertain a motion to 2/3 on, to request that the tribe turn over the operations of the Oglala store and the Allen store to the Ichaga board.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second on that motion? Second by Councilman Carlo and Councilwoman Carlo. Discussion to 2/3 that on at this time, council? Hearing or seeing none, Secretary, if you could run the vote. Thank you. Oh, go ahead. There's a question. Oh, go ahead, Councilwoman Carlo. Go ahead.
What about the Prairie Ranch?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was also the Prairie Ranch Resort.
That'd be included. Thank you.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
We were supposed to get a legal opinion on the Prairie Ranch Resort first from Steve Gunn and Jennifer Hughes to make sure that we can transfer it over to a business right now or if we have to wait.
Okay, let's just run a motion on those other two, and if we could get something by then, and we'll add it on there.
That's fine. Okay, so is that okay, Councilwoman Carlo? Okay, that's good. Okay, so we'll just take the original motion and then, yeah, and then when that topic comes up, we'll try to clarify that question about Prairie, the ranch, and then hopefully we might be able to amend it then. So, okay. So Secretary, if you want to run that vote at this time, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr. Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yes.
Ron DeBrey.
Oh.
James Cross.
Yes.
Ella John Carlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear.
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud.
Yes.
David Poyer.
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston.
Ha.
Jackie Sears. Michael Carlo Sr.
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr. Garfield Still. Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins, can I ask you to clarify your vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, council, that passes 24-0 against. Thank you, council. Chairman Steele, do you have any more? Okay, you're good. Oh, Councilman Poyer, go ahead. I know you had your hand up, so thank you for your patience.
Good morning. I know just the agenda's opened up. I'd just like to entertain a motion that number 19 through 25 be taken off and written reports can be given rather than having everybody on. That'd be my motion.
Okay, so 19 through 25, okay, that's fine. So motion made, seconded by Councilwoman Harlow and Councilman Rodriguez to have written reports for items 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 20, 25. And those could be written reports. So thank you for that, Councilman Poyer, for the expediency. That's a really good idea. And Councilman, you want to include item number 15? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, but I actually have some stuff that we need to present. So
I was going to add 26, but I'll let that go.
Okay. Okay. So any discussion on that, Council? Councilman Steele?
You know, if people don't read what's reported on paper, then you're gonna blame individuals for not giving a verbal report. Just want to make that statement.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other discussion on this item before we vote? Seeing or hearing none, Secretary, if you want to run the vote, thank you. And remember, this is 2/3, so seeing 2/3. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Hoorah!
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Senior,
No.
Austin Watkins Senior,
No.
Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Yeah.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Yeah.
Michael Carlos Senior,
No.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Steele,
Nope.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
That motion passes 14 yes, 6 no. Thank you, Councilman Poyer. So we'll do items number 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 as written reports. So I got Councilman Dillon and then Councilwoman Whitehorse.
I want to say good morning to everyone. Yesterday, I wasn't at the meeting, but I listened to IHS talk about it, about this is the first time they heard about bills not being paid. I just wanted to state for the record, that's a crock. Because in 2010, we had a meeting in Martin, South Dakota, where a number of high-ranking officials from IHS attended, and that was the topic of the conversation then. So this is nothing new, and I don't like people coming here and lying to us like that, like they were all just here, this is the first time they've ever heard of that, because that was a blatant lie. And I think we need to call them out on that from now on, you know, because we have people whose credit is in the crapper because of the non-payment of them bills. And I'm going to use another example. My sister suffered from cancer, and she sent her bill that she got from the cancer treatment center to IHS, and their reply was that those services could be provided at the Pine Ridge Hospital, her chemotherapy. So again, you know, they sat here and they talked about what they do, and what they didn't talk about is that they lied to us. And I'm calling them out on it today. I'm not going to take any more of their blatant disregard for the truth. When they deal with us, they should deal honestly with us and tell us they don't pay them bills, and they make every damn excuse not to pay them. So for the record, I'm saying this today, so if they want to get mad at me, they can. But this preferred care, purchase care is not, it isn't working for us. It never has and it never will, because there's more unpaid bills out there than there are paid bills. And we need to call them out on that and stay on top of that. So just for the record, I've been here long enough to know when they come, you might as well bring a shovel, because they're going to pile it on pretty damn thick when they get here. And that's what they did yesterday. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for that. Councilwoman Whitehorse?
I'm not sure if everybody read the email from Jennifer Hughes, but the comments for the, what is it called? ARPA are due by midnight tonight. So can we, I'll make a motion to 2/3 that onto the agenda for approval.
Okay, thank you. So there's a motion made, seconded by Councilman Carlo to 2/3 the comments on for ARPA. Any discussion on that? Hearing or seeing none online or in person. Secretary, if you could run the vote. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Senior,
Yes.
Lane Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Senior,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Senior, Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh,
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears, Michael Carlos Sr., Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
That motion passes 24-0 against. Thank you, council. Is there any other items to add? So I think we need a motion to close the agenda. It's a motion that by Councilman Yellowboy, second by Councilman Jumping Eagle to close the agenda. Any discussion on that? Hearing or seeing none?
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh,
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears, Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Council, that passes 19 yes. We're not voting to close the agenda. So thank you, council, for all your items. So we'll go back to where we left off yesterday. Coming back into order, we have quorum. I think, let's say that council. I know that we had a item from the Wounded Knee District, but the secretary hasn't received the ordinance yet, or the resolution. So we'll just move that one toward the end of business. Hopefully we'll get that. So Chairman Jumping Eagle, we'll come to you first. Thank you.
Okay. Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to allow Oglala Sioux Lakota Housing, OSLH, tribally controlled schools and other governmental housing providers to carry out eviction proceedings in rental and home ownership units based on drug activity and or violent and criminal activity during the COVID-19 pandemic moratorium on evictions based on non-payment of rent. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14th, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas, pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercises legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 4, Section 1W of the Constitution empowers the Tribal Council to adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its membership. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe has not yet adopted a landlord-tenant code and its law and order code at Chapter 46 Oglala Sioux Tribal Leasehold Mortgage Code only provides for tenant eviction for unlawful detainer. And whereas the proposed landlord-tenant code was passed by the HHS committee during the Bear Runner Port Bear administration and was sent to the Law and Order Committee, but no further action was taken by Law and Order Committee. And whereas there have been instances in which household members and their guests residing in housing units with elderly and vulnerable tenants engage in drug activity and violent and criminal activity, the elderly tenant is not aware of or has no control over. And whereas OSLH adopted administration and occupancy policy number XC OSLH Board Resolution 014-007 establishing a termination of occupancy proceeding for breaches involving serious criminal activity, which includes drug activity and violent crimes committed in OSLH rental units. And whereas most tribally controlled schools schools on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and tribal colleges and other governmental housing providers have adopted policies providing zero tolerance for drug-related and violent and criminal activity to protect their communities. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe has a vested interest in protecting all tribal members, including elderly tenants who may be forced to endure drug activity and or violent and criminal activity by household members and their guests, but feel powerless to stop it, thereby subjecting the community, district, and tribe as a whole to escalating crime rates. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council views the situation created by drug activity and commission of violent crimes in OSLH and other governmental housing units is a crisis worthy of immediate and decisive action to stop this activity. And whereas a motion was passed on December 15, 2020 at the Tribal Council to halt all evictions, now therefore be it resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby adopts this interim resolution to authorize OSLH and other governmental housing providers on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, including tribal schools, to proceed with lease termination and eviction proceedings that are based on drug activity or violent criminal activity, provided that for units occupied by elderly tenants, the elderly tenant and the household will not be evicted based on the drug activity or violent criminal activity of a household member or guest, and the governmental entity will only evict the household members who engaged in the drug activity or violent criminal activity in such cases. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall remain in effect until the OST moratorium on evictions based on non-payment of rent is lifted. Motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
So there's three, okay, so there was 2 seconds. Councilman Yellowboy and Councilman Canoyer Jr. And Councilman Query, did you second or no? No, you just took it. Okay. Okay, and then Councilman Canoyer is recognized at 11:40 a.m. Go ahead, Councilman Query.
Okay, so Ryan, home ownerships, are it just those that still owe on their homes? Because some of them home ownerships are paid off, so can they still be evicted whether they're paid off?
No, if they're conveyed, they can't be evicted. The homeowners own them.
But what I'm saying though is them are still identified as home ownerships. That's what I'm saying that.
Is Lisa on? I don't see how they can evict you if you own the home. But some ownership houses, if they're still paying rent, they're still property of the housing. That's what you're asking, right, Dave?
Yeah, there should be a different way to say it, because some of those guys that have been conveyed, that the house is still identified as a home ownership. And that's what this is saying, a home ownership house. Not that they probably won't do it because they don't evict anybody anyway, but it should be kind of clear, I think.
That's it.
Question. You can't see me on this side, Mr. President.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Councilman Puyer, so we'll come back and try to get that question answered. Go ahead, Councilwoman. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I just, you know, the resolution, you know, I know that I really wish that it was this easy to have put a paragraph in a resolution to address the issues that we dealt with a couple years ago or longer. And people were evicted from their homes because the grandkids were doing drugs in the home, which was not the fault of grandma and grandpa, but we evicted the whole family out of the home. And, you know, as council, all got calls from our district membership, and I'll tell you, you know, I got chewed out through Law and Order Committee because they were evicted. The whole family was evicted. And the mother didn't have anything to do with what had happened. So, you know, this resolution just kind of fixed that today, you know, and you know, now we're going to take care of the problem with just this one. Now, therefore, it be resolved that, you know, it's not going to affect grandma, grandpa, or anybody. It'll just affect the family. So I just really hope it doesn't come back to bite us, you know, that because families were evicted before. And I agree, you know, we need to stand strong against the drug use in these homes. And I think that I just really have a kind of a concern there, but we also need to look at the home ownership section. And, you know, people are still waiting for their titles of their homes, home ownership, not the low income unit. So I don't know what, those are just my comments, I guess. I just have those as comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Appreciate it. Council, further discussion on this item? Councilman Little Thunder, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know we got the same concern like what Ms. Sonia's got there on the, needs to be further explained as far as the resolution, you know, starting from the tenant, the head of the household, and all the way down to people that live in the household. It needs to be specified, explained to what this resolution means, you know, that includes the head of the household, or is that the tenant, or it all depends on who the household is, with starting from the head of the household all the way down to whatever the occupancy of the house. I just need further explanation that way the people out there can hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So I got Councilwoman Sears and then Councilwoman Carlo. Go ahead, Councilwoman Sears.
Yes, I agree that, you know, we need to start evicting people that are disrupting and with drugs and violent assaults. But I also agree with the council reps that spoke earlier about the language. So I think we need to put language in there that to look at a case-by-case basis and to identify these people that have been causing, you know, these issues in these homes with drug dealing, and they should include bootlegging too, you know, because we have bootleggers all over that are selling to our young people. And so I would suggest that they include that. And because, you know, we don't want to be hearing that we're kicking out innocent elderly people that live in the homes or children with no place to go. So the case-by-case basis needs to be put in there, that kind of a language. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So I got Councilwoman Carlo, and then I'll come back to Councilman Jonathan Eagle and Councilman Steele. Go ahead, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this kind of goes back to Dave's question, and I'm not sure if Ryan knows, but if somebody could enlighten me on it, but are there two separate types of rules for home ownership and low rental? There are two different sets of rules for those?
Go ahead, Councilman.
You know, John, you were at that same meeting whenever this was brought forth. You were there, so I mean, and you voted to pass this resolution on to council. So that makes no sense. So you guys, this resolution here is brought forth because there's still violent activity, criminal activity, drug use, drug activity in the housing units. There was a moratorium out on evictions because of backnet. You know, that's a federal, it's nationwide, and the tribe also adopted that. But what this does is this amends that, or it puts in a process that they can evict those family members of that household who are convicted of selling drugs or who did commit a serious crime. That's all this does. You know, and it says it right there. Sonia pointed it out that, it doesn't hold the homeowner liable, just the person who committed the crime.
Ryan, I know I was there and I understand this. All I'm asking is for clarification in the question that Dave asked.
So
if there was two sets of rules for a home ownership home and a low rent. That's all I'm asking, if there was two separate rules for that.
Okay, so for Dave's question, when a house is conveyed and you get the title, that's your house. Dave, you should know that. That's your house. How are they gonna come evict you out of your own house if you own the house? This is Oglala, Sioux, Lakota housing property. If you're living in a home ownership unit and you didn't pay it off, it's still OSLH property until you pay that house off and you get your title. I mean, it's simple. You're just throwing a monkey wrench in again. And this is trying to help our communities, trying to keep them safe. We went through this last council meeting when we brought this forth. If you want your language in there, come to our meetings, committee meetings, and put the language you want in there so we could approve it. We're just trying to help housing, and we're trying to help our membership to try to feel safe in these housing clusters. That's all this is doing.
I'm not opposed to this. What I'm saying is still the homes that are conveyed are still identified as home ownership. So those people there has to be something in here saying those homes that are conveyed, that they're theirs. I realize, but there's certain things, there's certain people being singled out too that are being evicted, their homes are being tested. And I know that that's going on because they come to me and tell me about it. That's all I'm trying to make it clear here.
Okay, thank you. So Chairman, I know that we had Chairman Jumping Eagle. Go ahead, Councilman Steele, if you want to.
Chairman Jumping Eagle just pretty much made it clear. If it's still in possession of housing, then this applies to that. And I think our focus was cluster housings when we talked about this, because a lot of these home ownerships are outside of the cluster housings. But if you look at a lot of the violence happening, it is in the cluster housings. And, I think at some point we have to have the tenants that are head of household, be responsible, because they're the ones who signed the lease. They have to understand that they're responsible for every single person under their roof. They have to know what every single person under their roof is doing in these homes. Because if they're allowing these individuals to come back to that house and harbor them when the law is looking for them, and it's not helping the situation in our communities. And so at some point, they have to be held accountable for the actions of people who live under the roof. Like I stated, whenever they sign the lease, they have to have that understanding.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilman, for that explanation. So, Council, what I suggest is that we just defer this until we can get a legal opinion and then legal language to satisfy some of these points, just so that we are 100% clear on that. Councilman Steele?
Chairman, there was a motion to approve this. I think there's no confusion. If those houses that are home ownership that are still under the property of the Oglala Lakota housing, then so be it. They're still the owners until those titles go to the people that are purchasing the home. I mean, there's no confusion here. I don't see, I mean, what kind of answer we're looking for, but I think we should still run a motion.
All right, thank you. So again, you know, it is a chair's discretion to take things on the agenda items, how they come forward. And so, well, let's come back to Chairman Jumping Eagle on, see if there's a fix. Chairman, so would you be okay with deferring this until we get to the attorneys to answer or weigh in on this? Or do you just want to run the motion as is?
Well, the motion is clear. You know, if it's still under OSLH, you know, they have that right. If the house was conveyed, it's no longer, it might still be a home ownership house. It probably carries the name of a home ownership, the life of the house, but it's conveyed and it's into the homeowner's name. But it's going to be identified as a home ownership, but that shouldn't stop. You know what I mean? This is, if it's under OSLH, it's still OSLH property until it's conveyed. And this doesn't apply to a person who owns their home. It just applies for OSLH units.
Okay, so we'll just run the motion as is. So is there any further discussion on this, Council? And Council, again, vote your conscience if you think the issue was answered. If not, it's up to you. So, so Secretary, if you want to run the vote on this, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Yeah.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron Dubray, James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yeah.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Mr. Little Thunder, can you clarify your vote?
I say no.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. So that motion passes 24-1 against. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Chairman Jumping Eagle, for your items. I believe that's all you have. Is that correct? Okay, thank you, Chairman. So we'll move on to where we at? The item OST Economic Business and Development. Hold on. Wait, okay. So we'll move on to OST Economic Business and Development. The first item, Chairman Steele, if you want to do that one. You got two items there, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask our secretary to read that.
Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe to regulate the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the tribe. And whereas under the tribe's inherent sovereignty in Article 4, Section 1K of the Tribal Constitution, the Tribal Council is empowered to promulgate and enforce ordinances governing the conduct of persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And whereas the Tribal Council finds it necessary to govern the distribution and sale of hemp-derived cannabidiol CBD products within the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. Now therefore be it resolved, be it ordained by the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council as follows. Section 1, finding and purposes. The Tribal Council finds that A, it is inherent sovereignty and constitutional authority to regulate the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products containing no more than 0.3 THC on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation under the following provisions of the Tribal Constitution. 1. Article 4, Sections 1H, K, M, T, and W of the Tribal Constitution empowers the Tribal Council to A, H, to levy taxes and licenses fees upon persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. B, K, to promulgate and enforce ordinances governing the conduct of persons on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation and providing for the maintenance of law and order and the administration of justice by establishing a reservation court and defining its duties and powers. C, M, to regulate the conduct of trade and the use of disposition of property upon the reservation. D, T, to delegate to subordinate boards and officers any of the foregoing powers, reserving the right to review any actions taken by virtue of such delegated power. And E, W, to adopt laws protecting and promoting the health and general welfare of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its members. D, or B, Section 16 of the 1934 Indian Reorganization Act recognizes the inherent sovereignty of the tribe to, among other things, regulate the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation by providing at 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123 H that notwithstanding any other provision of this act, 1, each Indian tribe shall retain inherent sovereign power to adopt governing documents under procedures other than those specified in this section. C, the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018, Public Law 115-334, 123 Statute 4914, enacted December 20th, 2018, provides in pertinent part as follows. Number 1, Section 12619B removes hemp from the Federal Controlled Substances Act by providing the term marijuana does not include 1, hemp as defined in Section 297A of the Agricultural Marking Act of 1946. Number 2, Section 297A, number 1, defines hemp as the plant cannabis sativa L and any part of that plant, including the seeds thereof and all derivatives, extracts, cannabinoids, isomers, acids, salts, and salts of isomers, whether growing or not, with a delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol concentration of not more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Number 3, Section 10114A provides that nothing in this title or an amendment made by this title prohibits the interstate commerce of hemp or hemp products. Section 10114B provides that no state or Indian tribe shall prohibit the transportation or shipment of hemp or hemp products through the state or the territory of Indian tribe as applicable. D, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council amended and restated Warriors in the Garden Hemp Regulatory Ordinance number 20-27, adopted pursuant to Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018, and regulations adopted thereof and approved by the Secretary of Agriculture, allows the interstate commerce of hemp-derived CBD products or the transportation and shipment of hemp-derived CBD products to and from the territory of the Oglala Sioux tribe that do not contain more than 0.3 THC as defined by Section 297A of the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018. Section 2, definitions. A, as used in this ordinance. Number 1, the term CDB shall be cannabis, how do you pronounce that? Cannabidiol? Okay, thank you. The term CBD infused products shall mean oils, creams, capsules, and edibles. It shall not include vapes. Number 3, the term Department of Revenue shall mean the Oglala Sioux Tribal Revenue Department. Number 4, the term FDA shall mean the United States Food and Drug Administration. Number 5, the term hemp-derived CBD product shall mean any hemp-derived CBD products that contain no more than 0.3 THC as defined by Section 297A(1) of the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018. 6, the term inspection or inspections shall mean checking or testing a vendor's inventory and financial records and annual audits. 7, the term medical marijuana dispensaries shall mean vendors that sell products with high levels of THC. Medical marijuana dispensaries and medical marijuana products are not regulated under this ordinance. 8, the term minimum age requirement shall mean the age of 18. The term monitor or monitoring shall mean to observe and check the quality of any hemp-derived CBD product distributed or sold by any vendor within the territory of the Oglala Sioux tribe and at any time without prior notice to the vendor. 10, the term Oglala Sioux Tribal Hemp Commission shall mean the Hemp Commission established under amended and restated Oglala Sioux Tribe Warriors in the Garden Hemp Regulatory Ordinance number 20-27. 11, the term Pine Ridge Reservation or reservation shall mean all lands within the original exterior boundaries of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation as defined by Section 1 of the Act of March 2nd, 1889, Statute 888. 12, the term publicly marketable hemp-derived CBD product shall mean a hemp product as defined in Section 300, subsection 31 of the amended and restated Oglala Sioux Tribe Warriors in the Garden Hemp Regulatory Ordinance number 20-27. 13, the term smokable hemp flower shall mean a publicly marketable hemp-derived CBD product with less than 0.3 THC in its raw form that has been tested and licensed for sale, transfer, and transportation by the Oglala Sioux Tribe Hemp Commission pursuant to Section 1000, subsection 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of the amended restated Oglala Sioux Tribe Warriors in the Garden Hemp Regulatory Ordinance number 20-27. 14, the term territory of the Oglala Sioux Tribe shall mean the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. 15, the term THC shall mean tetrahydrocannabinol oil. 16, the term USDA shall mean the United States Department of Agriculture. 17, the term vendor or CDB vendor shall mean any individual, firm, co-partnership, business, cooperation, joint venture, association, company, or organization that distributes or sells products, either on the reservation or online, that are CBD infused, and it shall not include products that have a THC level above 0.3%. Section 3, licensing and taxation. A, in its regulation of the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, the Tribal Council also has the authority to license and/or tax the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products pursuant to its inherent sovereignty and under Article 4, Section 1 of the Tribal Constitution. Section 4, the Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Revenue. A, the Oglala Sioux Department of Revenue is hereby delegated the authority to regulate the distribution and sale of hemp-derived CBD products on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. B, the Director of the Department of Revenue shall be responsible for implementation of this ordinance. C, Chapter 44 of the Tribal Law and Order Code shall not be applicable to the regulation of hemp-derived CBD products by the Department of Revenue under this ordinance. D, all CBD vendors shall be licensed and taxed by the Department of Revenue as provided by Section 7 and 8 of this ordinance. Section 5, restrictions on hemp-derived CBD license. A, all licenses issued to CBD vendors shall be non-transferable and non-refundable. B, all CBD vendors who apply for and are issued license shall consent to the jurisdiction of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Court for all disputes that arise under their licenses. Such consent shall be written on the license issued to such vendors. Section 6, revocation of CBD license. A, the Department of Revenue may revoke with upon notice an opportunity to be heard any license to distribute or sell hemp-derived CBD products within the territory of the Oglala Sioux Tribe for violations of, number 1, the Federal Controlled Substance Act, number 2, any tribal law providing distribution, sale, or possession of controlled substances. Number 3, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council Ordinance 20-27. Number 4, Oglala Sioux Tribal Council Ordinance 19-2042. And number 5, any provisions of this ordinance. B, the Director of the Department of Revenue shall have the responsibility and authority to conduct investigations, inspections, and monitoring of all business transactions and activities of any licensed vendor for violations of any acts or ordinances listed in Section 6, subsections A, 1, 2, 3, or 4 above. C, if the Director of the Department of Revenue finds sufficient evidence that a licensed vendor has violated any acts or ordinances listed in Section 6, subsections A, 1, 2, 3, 4, and above, and 5 above, the Director shall: 1, notify the licensee in writing of the act or ordinance and any provisions thereof being violated. 2, allow the licenses 14 working days to show cause in writing why the licensee's license should not be revoked. 3, hold a show of cause hearing not less than 7 working days after the licensee responds to the notice to show cause why the licensee license should not be revoked. 4, issue written findings of fact and conclusions of law to either revoke or not revoke the license within 3 working days after the show of cause hearing. Number 5, if any time periods under this subsection C above falls on a national or tribal holiday or on a Saturday and Sunday, then the time period will be extended to the next working day. D, if the Director of the Department of Revenue determines that a license should be revoked, the Director shall impose the following penalties on the licensee. Number 1, 1 year revocation of first violation. And number 2, permanent revocation of a second violation. E, all appeals of the Director's decision to revoke a license shall be filed with the Tribal Administrative Law Judge within 10 working days after a final decision is made by the Director of the Revenue Department. The decision of the tribal administrator law judge shall be final and binding on all parties. Section 7, licensing of CBD vendors. A, the license fee for all CBD vendors who are members of the Oglala Sioux tribe or whose business entities are 100% owned by members of the Oglala Sioux tribe shall be $1,000 per year. B, the license fee for all CBD vendors who are not members of the Oglala Sioux tribe or whose business entity are not 100% owned by members of the Oglala Sioux tribe shall be $5,000 per year. Section 8, taxation of CBD vendors. C, all licensed CBD vendors shall be subject to a 5.5% gross receipts tax on a monthly basis. The amounts of gross receipts tax revenue raised each month shall be allocated to the Oglala Sioux Tribe Hemp Commission to fund its operations. The Department of Revenue shall be responsible for the collection of all gross receipt tax under this section. D, all licensed CBD vendors shall be subject to the 4.5% tribal sales and use taxes, with reports and remittance of taxes due on a monthly basis. The collection of all sales and use taxes shall be subject to an existing tax collection agreement between the Oglala Sioux tribe and the state of South Dakota. Section 9, prohibited products. A, CBD infused products distributed or sold within the territory of the Oglala Sioux tribe shall not include 1, vapes, or 2, smokable hemp flower or products intermixed with tobacco. Section 10, labeling. A, all publicly marketable hemp-derived CBD products distributed or sold within the territory of the Oglala Sioux tribe shall, number 1, comply with all federal labeling laws, including clear identifying hemp as an ingredient, including identifying CBD and the amount of CBC if added as an isolate, clearly identifying that the product contains no more than 0.3% THC, a statement that the FDA has not evaluated the product, and a statement that the product contains no therapeutic or nutritional benefit claims. 2, include on their label the amount of active CBD per serving, a supplemental fact panel, including other ingredients, net weight or volume, manufacturer or distributor name, suggested use, full spectrum, broad spectrum, or isolate, and batch or date code. 3, not suggest that a hemp-derived CBD product might have a role in treating or diagnosing disease, or is intended to affect the structure of any function of the human body or animals, or in a health claim that subjects the product to drug regulations or that it is a dietary supplement. Section 11, conflicts in law. A, if any conflict is found to exist between this ordinance and any provision of USDA or FDA laws or regulations and or ordinance number 20-27 and ordinance number 19-42, the USDA or FDA laws or regulations and or ordinance number 20-27 and ordinance number 1942 shall govern and control. B, all CBD vendors shall have the responsibility to comply with the applicable USDA and FDA laws and regulations, ordinance number 20-27 and ordinance number 1942, or any valid applicable tribal ordinance while conducting business under a license issued by the Department of Revenue. Section 12, the Oglala Sioux tribe's exemption from liability. A, neither the tribe nor its sub-entities, officials, or employees shall be liable for any damages sustained by a licensed hemp CBD vendor or a customer thereof for any hemp-derived CBD products distributed or sold within the territory of the Oglala Sioux tribe or otherwise, B, the Oglala Sioux Tribe and its sub-entities, officials, and employees shall be entitled to invoke sovereign immunity as a defense in any judicial or administrative proceedings in which they are named as parties. Section 13, insurance requirements. All licensed CBD vendors shall carry liability insurance in the amount of not less than $250,000 at all times during which they are conducting business within the territory of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, which such insurance shall be a condition of the issuance of any licenses or renewal of any license by the Department of Revenue. Section 14, monitoring and inspections and audits of licensed hemp CBD vendors. A, all licensed CBD vendors shall be subject to monitoring, inspections of inventory, financial records, and annual audits as determined by the Director of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Revenue Department. Section 15, partial repeal of inconsistent ordinances and resolutions. A, any existing ordinance or a resolution that is inconsistent with this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent that such ordinance or resolution is inconsistent, provided, however, that nothing in this ordinance shall be construed to revise, modify, or supersede any provision of ordinance number 20-27 or any amendments thereof. Section 16, violation of minimum age requirement. A, it shall be unlawful for any licensed vendor or any principal, owner, or manager thereof to sell hemp-derived CBD products to any person under the age of 18. B, a violation of this section shall be punishable by a fine not to exceed $5,000 or by a term of imprisonment in the tribal jail not to exceed 1 year or both. Section 17, effective date of this ordinance. This ordinance shall become effective on May 1st, 2021. Certification.
That was a long ordinance. So, do you know how many words are in that, Chairman Steele? You got the book.
Motion.
Motion by Chairman Steele, second by Councilman Youngman. Any discussion on that, Council, at this time? Hearing or seeing none online or in person.
this is Jackie. I just have one.
Sorry. Go ahead, Councilwoman. Sorry.
Yeah, this will probably go toward Garfield. And the end it says something about the age of 18. Could you clarify that? Is that for sales?
Yeah, I believe it is for sales. Because CBD don't have any THC, and I believe any other store you can purchase it no matter where you go at the age of 18, right, Cora?
Jackie, that is in section 16 of the code under violations of minimum age requirement. Number A, it does say it shall be unlawful for any licensed vendor or any principal, owner, or manager thereof to sell hemp-derived CBD products to any person under the age of 18.
Yeah, I heard that, but I was wondering about the age requirement. 21 is usually the age requirement, but 18 I felt was, I don't know, this seems kind of low, the age. That's all I got.
And Chairman, do you know South Dakota's age limit by chance, offhand, to buy CBD products?
If the council wants to raise it to the age of 21, I have no problem with that. But I know in our meeting, it was discussed and it was it was stated that wherever they sell these, the CBD online and in stores around the area, I mean, you were just required to be at age of 18 and older. But I mean, it's up to the council. If you guys want to raise it to 21, that's fine with me.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, just Googled it, Councilman, so it is 21 for South Dakota. So just to clarify that, so. And is there anything, oh, go ahead, Councilman.
Well, we could, if you guys are okay with it, I wouldn't mind changing it to 21. You know, if that's going to be a problem, we could raise it to 21.
I agree until further notice, you know, if anything changes I agree with 21.
Okay, if you can, Madam Secretary, if you could change that wording to 21.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, is seconded by Councilman Rodriguez. Okay, so we'll have be a second. Councilman Rodriguez. Any further discussion, council? Hearing or seeing none, online or in person, Secretary, we could run the vote. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Oh.
Lane Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yep.
Ron DeBrey.
Oh.
James Cross.
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear.
Yes.
Richard Ironclad.
Yes.
David Poyer.
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston.
Ha.
Jackie Sears.
Oh,
Michael Carlo Sr. Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.
Yes.
Garfield Still. Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council. That motion passes 24-0 against. Thank you, council. Chairman Steele, do you have any other items? Or?
Yeah, actually, I got a few more. Next one's a resolution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, an unincorporated tribe. Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe appointing tribal council members to the Youth Affairs Committee. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by a referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with the Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, and under Article 3 of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas Article 4, Section 1S of the Constitution empowers the Tribal Council to regulate the procedure of subcommittee of the Tribal Council, and whereas the Tribal Council called a special Tribal Council meeting to create a space for youth members of the tribe to voice their comments and concerns to the Tribal Council, and whereas at the special Tribal Council meeting held on February 20th, 2021, the Tribal Council approved a motion to create a Youth Affairs Committee of the Tribal Council to serve as the liaison between the Tribal Council and the various youth committees throughout the reservation. Whereas the Tribal Council created the Youth Affairs Committee by Ordinance 20-15, February 24, 2021. Now therefore be resolved, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby appoints the following Tribal Council members to the Youth Affairs Committee for the 2020-2022 term. Listed members of, right there, and then be it further resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribe, okay, we can, I'm not going to read that one. Be it finally resolved that the quorum of the Youth Affairs Committee shall be, and I think we could just keep that at five members with the certification. So I believe at this time, all we need is interested names to be included on this resolution. I know, for one, I know I'm requesting my name to be added on there, and Mr. Ryan Jumping Eagle, Conoyer, Mr. Tyler Yellowboy, Mr. Wendell Youngman. Anybody else?
This is George. I would like my name also to be on there.
Yes, Mr. George Dreamer.
I would also. Thank you for Wakpamani.
Okay, Mrs. Jackie Sears. And Miss Cora Whitehorse. And Miss Julie Spotted Bear. So, Madam Secretary, can you repeat those names, please?
Garfield Still, Ryan Jumping Eagle, Gerald Conoyer, Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman, George Dreamer, Jackie Sears, Cora Whitehorse, and Julian Spotted Bear.
My motion to be to approve the resolution.
Okay, motion made by Chairman Steele, seconded by Councilman Yellowboy, to approve that to approve the resolutions and the names on that resolutions. Any further discussion, council, on this?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Councilman Knoyer.
would I be able to get my suffix junior on there, because Gerald Knoyer was my father's name?
Yeah, officially we'll get on there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion, council? Hearing or seeing none, online or in person. Secretary, if you could run the vote. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Gerald Conoyer Jr.,
Oh.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Rhonda Bray,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears,
Uh-huh.
Michael Carlo Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
That passes unanimous, 21-4-0 against. Thank you, council. Chairman?
Okay, I got a resolution of the Sioux Tribal Council of the Sioux Tribe and unincorporated tribe. Resolution of the Sioux Tribal Council of the Sioux Tribe authorizing and approving the transfer of the operations of the Allen Store and Oglala Store to the Ichaga Corporation. Whereas the Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with the Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, and under Article 3 of the Sioux Tribe Constitution, the Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Tribal Constitution authorizes the Tribal Council in Article 4, Section 1F to manage all economic affairs and enterprises of the Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Tribal Constitution authorizes the Tribal Council in Article 4, Section 1M to regulate the conduct of trade and the use and disposition of property upon the reservation. And whereas the Sioux Tribe owns the Allen Store and Oglala Store, and whereas the Sioux Tribe created the Ichaga Corporation as a wholly owned tribal business entity and economic development arm of the Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Economic and Business Development Committee recommends that the the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council transferred the operations of the Allen Store and Oglala Store to Ichaga Corporation. Now therefore be resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby authorizes and approves the transfer of the operations of the Allen Store and the Oglala Store to the Ichaga Corporation. Motion.
Motion was made by Chairman Steele, seconded by Councilwoman Carlo. Further discussion on this, council? Seeing or hearing none online or in person on the transfer of this to the Ichaga group. Secretary, if you could run the motion, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blake Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yep.
Ron DeBrey,
No.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad, David Poyer, Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Jackie Sears,
Oha.
Michael Carlo Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Council, that passes 21-4-0 against. Thank you, council. Chairman Steele, do you have any other items?
Okay, got a resolution of Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe authorizing and approving the preparation of a feasibility study to support the establishment and funding of a tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneers Indian Reservation. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935 in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, and under Article 3 of the Tribal Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the tribe, and whereas under Article 4, Section 1F and M of the Tribal Constitution, the Tribal Council is empowered to manage all economic affairs and enterprises of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and to regulate the conduct of trade on the reservation, which includes the authority and power to establish tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneers Indian Reservation. And whereas Section 16 of the IRA, as amended, also recognizes the inherent sovereignty of Indian tribes to adopt governing documents by providing that each Indian tribe shall retain inherent sovereign powers to adopt governing documents under procedures other than those specified in the section in 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123H. And whereas under the tribe's inherent sovereignty, as recognized under 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123H, the Tribal Council is also authorized and empowered to establish tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneers Indian Reservation. And whereas Section 12619B of the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, Public Law 115-334, 132 Statute 4914 removed hemp from Federal Controlled Substances Act and allowed the tribe to adopt plans to regulate production of fiber hemp on the Pioneers Indian Reservation. And whereas the Tribal Council adopted the amended restated Warriors in the Garden Hemp Regulatory Ordinance number 20-27 pursuant to the Agriculture Improvement Act of the 2018 and interim USDA regulations promulgated thereunder, which established a tribal hemp commission with authority to regulate and license the cultivation, transportation, processing, destruction, and handling of hemp, including fiber hemp on the Pioneers Indian Reservation. And whereas fiber hemp is now classified as an agricultural product under the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, And whereas the tribe and individual tribal members own thousands of acres of farmland on the Pioneers Indian Reservation, a substantial amount which can be put into the production of fiber hemp to supply fiber hemp to tribally owned and operated fiber hemp enterprises, included the following. Number one, A, biofuels enterprises, 2, a building materials enterprise, and 3, a textile enterprise. Whereas the tribal council believes that these enterprises can bring good paying jobs to the tribal members and much needed revenue to the tribe to provide quality services to tribal members and other residents of the Pioneers Indian Reservation. And whereas the tribal council believes that the first step in starting tribally owned hemp enterprises is to do a feasibility study that can be used to access federal grants and loans from the United States Congress, the United States Department of Agriculture, and other federal agencies, and from private sources. Now therefore be resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby authorizes and approves the preparation of a feasibility study to establish the aforementioned tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneers Indian Reservation, and the tribal president, chairman of Economic Business Development Committee, and EB&D attorney are directed to work together and contact the Innovation Group, 400 North Peters at Suite 206, New Orleans, Louisiana 70130, or some other reputable feasibility company for a price quote on the cost of a feasibility study, and report back to the tribal council for review and approval within 30 days on the cost of the study. And be it further resolved that the tribal president is directed to invite Heather Thompson, the director of the USDA Office of Tribal Relations, and a USDA Tribal Relations Advisory Committee representative to the next tribal council meeting to determine what funding possibilities exist within USDA to establish and fund the aforementioned tribally owned fiber hemp business enterprises on the Pioneers Indian Reservation, and what technical assistance USDA and other federal agencies can provide to the tribe to establish the enterprises. Motion.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Carlo, or Councilman Jumping Eagle, sorry. Discussion on this item, council? Hearing or seeing none online or in person. Secretary, if you want to run the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle Sr.,
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr., Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman Jr., Ron DeBrey, your mic's on, Ron. James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Streamer Jr., Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Michael Carlo Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yep.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
George Streamer Jr.,
Thank you, council. So that motion passes 24-0 against. Thank you, council and chairman. And I think there's one more item. Yeah.
Okay, I got one more, and it's actually not an EB&D committee agenda item, but it was on the agenda from our district. So I got a resolution of Oglala Sioux Tribal Council, the Oglala Sioux Tribe, appointing Rosalie Janice to fill the vacancy on the Oglala Lakota College Board of Trustees from the Wounded Knee District. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with the Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, And under Article 3 of the Oglala Tribe Constitution, the Oglala Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Tribe. And whereas the Tribal Council approved the charter of the Oglala Lakota College OLC by ordinance number 71-01 as amended, and whereas the charter provides for a process to fill district vacancies on the Board of Trustees, and whereas there was a vacancy in the Wounded Knee District seat on the OLC Board of Trustees, the Wounded Knee District College Center followed the process to select tribal member Rosalie Janice to fill the vacancy and recommends the Tribal Council formally seat Mrs. Rosalie Janice. Now therefore be resolved that Oglala Tribal Council hereby appoints Ms. Rosalie Janice to fill the vacancy on the Oglala Lakota College Board of Trustees from the Wounded Knee District. Certification motion.
Motion made by Chairman Steele, seconded by Councilman Rodriguez, Councilwoman Whitehorse. Discussion on this item? Hearing or seeing none, Secretary, if you could run the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Senior,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse. Yes. Ryan Jumping Eagle Senior,
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Senior, Tyler Yellowboy,
Yeah.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Jackie Sears, Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
Thank you, Council. That passes 21-4-0 against. Thank you, Council. So we have lunch here. So Council, we can take a break. Let's do about 20-minute break. But before we do that, Councilman Jumping Eagle, do you want to do the meal prayer? So.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to pray for our meal today, that that it nourishes our body and gives us strength. Pray for the hands that prepared the meal. Tikasha, I pray for. I'm gonna say a prayer, Tikasha, today for all our youth, the children, the elderly. Tikasha, I pray that you pity them and watch over them, and hear their prayers. Tikasha, keep them safe. I pray for all our relatives out there who are sick with the COVID virus. Tikasha, I pray that you pity them and watch over them. Help.
Chairman, can he sing that song now?